Welcome to the Art of Quantum Healing, where we speak about trauma, mental health and healing. I am your host, Lisa Nadler, and I'm thrilled to have you come into my energetic field. In this podcast, I will be sharing my own personal experiences to guide, teach, and help pave the way. We'll also be welcoming so many other divine souls who have overcome trauma and found happiness, health, wealth, and next level abundance through mind, body, and soul connection. My mission is to help women high vibe and thrive with inner peace, passion, and purpose.
So today on the Art of Quantum Healing, we have another phenomenal guest speaker joining us. And she is Gabrielle from beautiful Perth, Australia. And we're going to go deep again and even more juicy on trauma. And we'll talk about lots of different things. But I just wanted to introduce you to Gabrielle. Thank you for joining me, Gabrielle.
Thank you for having me.
Yay!
Great to be here today.
Yeah, great to have you. I'm just going to read a little bit about Gabrielle. Gabrielle is an Gabrielle is an inspiration to many, having healed from 2 traumatic events 33 years apart. Wow. Her story is one of resilience, adversity, finding creatrix. Yes. Let's get deep into that. A fast, permanent method that healed her emotional wounding and trauma completely, using creatrix as a transformologist. I haven't heard of that. Transformologist.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to get into that as well. This is excellent. Gabrielle assists women to heal, move them from breakdown to breakthrough by releasing beliefs, statements, and emotions that hold them stuck in the past and unable to move forward and focus on the present and look to the future with optimism. Oh, got a little bit tongue-tied in there. More so excited. So welcome.
Thank you.
Wow.
Great.
So many
Great to be here. So great to be here, and such an important topic to talk about today.
God, isn't it? It's so important. And, I just want to, as you said to me when we were chatting, I want to do the same to you, just a huge high five and all the juiciness for doing the work that you do. It's definitely, when you're doing trauma work, it is very emotional, and you've really got to hold a beautiful container for people that you're working with. And of course, you could only do this work if you've done the healing work yourself, which we continue to do. So yeah, I celebrate you, Gabrielle. I really do.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I'd love you to share a little bit of your story. What took you from where you were within your life to whichever transformational part you would like to talk to with it when it comes within your trauma, and just share a bit of you and just let the audience know who you are.
Sure. Well, so first and foremost, I guess I should say that I have worked with women predominantly for 25 years. Yeah. I have had a business called A Labour of Love, which literally has been a labour of love. Mm-hmm. I became a doula when my children were very small. After having amazing birth experiences, I felt there was this calling for me to attend births. And it happened by pure chance, really. Women started asking me if I would attend their births because I had these amazing home births. They're like, how did you do that? I want to know what you did to create such a positive mindset. So I fell into becoming a doula by chance. And so 25 years later, 450 births later.
Oh.
Yes. And along the way.
That's a lot of vaginas.
That is a lot of vaginas, yeah. So along the way, and I decided to train in every modality I could to try and help these women. And one of the things that came up was birth trauma. So I did hypnobirthing first, but that was to help women more with their mindset. And it's a program which helps women to understand, how to surrender and let go. Brilliant program. But I found my clients needed more. So I trained as a hypnosis practitioner. And this enabled me to help women with birth trauma. So I actually became like a birth trauma specialist. But trauma was something that was not unknown to me. And I'll just backtrack here as to what happened to me. So my trauma has come from 2 experiences 33 years apart. And to look at me today, you wouldn't think that I've been through what I've been through, because I sit here so happy and content and fulfilled and completely healed. And I never actually thought I'd get to this place. It's been a long road. So what happened to me was I accidentally ran over and killed an Indigenous woman when I was 17 years of age, which at the time was beyond shattering. You know, there's no
That's
word
dramatic.
that can even express how that goes.
Mm.
So I was told at the time to leave town, to never return, to zip it, don't talk about it with anyone, just leave it be.
Wow.
And so I suppressed all of that and had to go on a quest to find ways to heal it internally, so I didn't fall apart. Now, lucky for me, up until that point in time, through my high school years, I had excelled in sports at a very high level. So endurance events weren't anything unnew for me. So after this, I threw myself, of course, moving to Perth, Western Australia, threw myself into uni, became, I guess, what you call an A-type personality. Instead of turning to drugs and alcohol, I turned to high-level fitness, any sport that I could find. I was already trained as a fitness presenter, instructor, working in gyms. So I had like 4 jobs. I had all the balls in the air. I just kept going. So everything I did 100%. Yeah, because if I stopped, the walls would come crashing down, and I couldn't allow that to happen. Survival mode, yeah. And I couldn't stop. I was on this treadmill and I just couldn't stop because I knew it would be detrimental to my health. And back then, you know, we're talking in the 80s, no one spoke about mental health and post-traumatic stress disorder. No one spoke about you need to see a counsellor, you need some help. So I just sort of pulled it all in and just literally, suppressed all those emotions. And I guess keeping going in these endurance events sort of, you know, helped me to cope. That was my coping strategy. But fast forward into my 20s, I decided that I really needed to start exploring why, you know, because the why me started to come up. And I threw myself into Reiki 1 and 2. And I remember having some pretty profound experiences during that training. So that was my first sort of taste of doing some work to heal myself. And then once I got that taste, it actually propelled me to find lots of spiritual mentors. And I found the most incredible women here. The interesting thing about this story is that before my accident, I went to see a clairvoyant, and she actually said to me, you know, you are so clairvoyant and you could stand up in front of a crowd and do crowd readings if you wanted to. You know, you've got that ability, right? And I said, yeah, I know I have this ability.
One of those things you shut down when you're young.
And I shut it down because it was all too overwhelming. I couldn't go there.
No one to talk to about it. It's like, well, this is really weird stuff. What the hell? No, I'm just going to get rid of that. So I had a lot going on, you know, and I guess my sports and fitness profession kept me grounded, and that's what you need. But of course, I was also incredibly clairvoyant, but I went seeking for answers. I wanted to know. I'd say, you know, come on, why me? Why, you know? And all I was getting really from my guides and my mentors is, why not you? You know, you were strong enough to be able to handle this, and there's more that you need to learn from this, and it's coming. The lessons are coming. Were you still holding a lot of grief, blame and shame and guilt around that?
Oh, yeah, my goodness, the stories, the statements that I believed about the experience. You know, I'm a killer. I deserve to go to prison. Why haven't I been punished? You know, I've taken someone off this planet. Why haven't I been punished for this?
Yeah.
So these were the beliefs I held for many, many years.
And it wasn't your fault, right?
It wasn't my fault. No.
That's the biggest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. But of course, how do you tell your 17-year-old innocent self that, you know, when you haven't had any help?
You're still growing up yourself. You're still
I was
uncovering and understanding. You're a baby.
Yeah, I was a baby. And I had no support from family. They just
really.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So that's a whole nother story, because I had such a dysfunctional upbringing and trauma from so I had trauma leading up through my years growing up from my step-parents.
And that was a friggin' doozy.
Yeah, so I had a whole, by the time I got to 17, I'd already had so much trauma in my life. I was just like, okay, yeah, come on, bring on a bit more. Come on.
At least we know we're never given more than we can handle. That's the bit. I remember a mentor saying to me, "Les, you're never given more than you can handle." I'm like, that has got me through some of the hardest. That simple statement has got me through some of the hardest things. And it's not always happening. It's always happening for you. It's not happening against you. And when something like that happened to you, it was like, well, actually, I'm sorry, it's really bad, but you had to go through it, and so did they. It's part of your soul contract. It's part of your evolution. And sometimes it's so hard to understand, especially when you're 17.
Yeah.
Like,
so I went on this spiritual quest. People really didn't know that I was involved in this. I kept it really private and hidden because I was good at hiding a lot of stuff. So I kept my whole spiritual side. I didn't let anyone know I was clairvoyant, but I also didn't let anyone know that this accident happened, because I really was terrified to tell anyone, because
it's not who you are.
I'm going to, people are going to judge me.
Yeah,
people are going to go, oh my God, there's that girl that, you know, she killed someone. That's what my belief was. So I couldn't actually share this information with anyone
you couldn't
either.
Process it.
No. So I was really in not a good way. So as I said, so I fell into becoming a doula around the age of 25 when I had my first daughter. And just prior to that, I lived in Japan, and I had I got to live there. I got to go there and work as an outdoor education instructor, because I ended up going to university and getting a physical education human movement degree. So because you do everything, you know, by 100% times 3, you know, when you're trying to. So I had this amazing experience, and it was life-changing. But what happened there was I got very sick, and I ended up like gassing myself with my kerosene heater in my apartment, and I went like unconscious, and I was sick. I had a very bad sort of virus that attacked my spine, and I found it hard to walk, and I ended up in hospital. It's a crazy experience. But during me going unconscious, I had this sort of, I call it a near-death experience, because I left my body and my grandmother came to me. Wow. So my grandmother was the one that shared with me that I had this clairvoyant ability. It was a profound experience.
So did you actually look down and see yourself on the ground?
She was standing at the foot of my bed.
Wow.
Well, my futon that was on the floor. And she had all these people like this all the way around me, like going like this, right? All these older people, and they were all holding hands, and they were all smiling and reassuring. And she was here right at the foot. And she said to me, I said, have you come to receive, have I died? Am I passing over? And she said, oh, no, dear, not yet. You've got lots of life to live.
You've got a big job to do. Get back out there and do it.
Yeah, get back in.
Yeah, by the way, get this caravan shit going, would you?
Oh, I tell you.
Wow, that's a profound experience.
Yep. And so she said, you've got this amazing clairvoyant ability, and as you get older, you will have a choice whether you use it or not. It's always a choice, because she actually was very clairvoyant. People, the whole town would come to her to ask her, what should I do about this, this, or this, So, so I come from that stock. Now, interesting fact, I didn't know that my father called her Billy. That's her nickname. And she said to me as confirmation, ask your daddy about me. He used to call me Billy. You say, to your dad or your father, I can't remember what term she used, you ask him about my nickname Billy. So when I got better, a few weeks, it was about 3 or 4 weeks after, I ended up ringing my dad back in Australia and said,
did I dream that? Did that really happen?
Did your mum
got really good drugs?
yeah, I know. What did they give me? No, well, this was still when I was like, in my apartment. I was found in my apartment unconscious. So,
right, yeah.
Anyway, so long story short, so I
said
had
yes. That he, sorry, I interrupted you. Did he say yes? That's exactly what
he did.
And he never told you that before.
No,
Ooh,
no.
goosebumps.
And I explained exactly what she looked like, and he said, "You really did see her."
That's so beautiful that she came to you at that time, and
and she.
I guarantee it would have been all your ancestors all standing around you, just all holding the space for you. And healing.
It was quite profound, and she actually unraveled a lot of information and really, I guess, highlighted my whole life ahead, and it was very, very profound. And I knew that what I'd been through had been for a reason, much bigger than me, but I didn't know. You could never verbalize it. It just was an inner knowing. So this left me just wanting to get out and live life fully, because I hadn't actually done that to this point in time. I really had held myself back mentally, not physically. Physically, I was 100% out there, but mentally, I just wasn't in alignment. And something clicked, and I really got into alignment there. And I suddenly felt like I had this maturity beyond my years that I just hadn't snapped into. And that helped me really cope. And then, of course, I realized that I could do readings for people and I started to use my gifts and explore those, and found more spiritual, mentors, and sort of, did that on the side. And it really helped me with my work as a doula, because when I attended births, I felt totally present with the baby and, of course, with the mother. And it just lifted my whole work experience up. And I call it my work experience. Birth, you always learn from birth. So for 25 years, I was an apprentice. I learned something at every birth. And I ended up writing 2 books about my experiences and observation.
Really?
As a doula, yes, which I've just
what are they
actually
called, just in case the readers listeners, sorry.
So A Labour of Love, A Guide to Natural Childbirth Without Fear. It's available on Amazon. And through my website, A Labour of Love, and A Labour of Love 2, which is creating the birth you want and desire. It's beautiful, beautiful.
Do you ever deliver any famous people's babies?
A lot of footballers' wives I worked with here in Perth.
I can imagine.
Eagles and Dockers.
Wow, so cool.
And a few musicians. Eskimo Joe's children.
Oh, really? Wow, that's way cool.
Yeah, so I've had amazing experiences.
So when you did the hypnobirthing, was that like that was the ward, like you didn't take them into hypnotic state or anything like that?
No, hypnobirthing. No, when you're a hypnobirthing practitioner, you're not actually qualified as a hypnosis practitioner. Right. That's why I went and trained. I know, right? Because it gives that impression it's hypnosis. It's actually not. But when clients come and see me one-on-one here in this room that I'm in right now, my working room, I hypnotize them fully. Yeah. And that cuts to the chase. It helps them to release and let go of any fear they have. Yeah. But if they also do have birth trauma from a prior experience, I can help release all of that.
Right.
100%. It's powerful. Yeah, really powerful.
Okay.
It just resets the mindset, you know, which is what they need each week. So, so that's sort of been my journey spiritually. And then, you know, I had my beautiful water births. I wrote my books. I wrote for the Australian Pregnancy and Birth magazine as an expert consultant because of all the, so I taught fitness classes for pregnancy. I was trained as a cert form masseuse, hypnosis practitioner, childbirth educator. So I sort of had the whole bag. Women would come to me and they'd get everything they needed. I was a one-stop shop. And I had a dream and a vision of opening a labour of love centre, which I ended up doing, which was phenomenal. In 2015,
Awesome.
I opened.
2015?
Yeah, 2015, I opened my labour of love centre, and I had chiropractor, I had a physio, naturopath, a beauty therapist, I had yoga, Pilates, and I taught lots of the fitness classes, fitball classes.
So cool. So many people want to do that now. They want to have this. I looked at doing it in Bali, having this one healing centre that everybody came into. I think it's such a good idea.
It's fantastic. And it was doing fantastically well. It was open for a year. And then, unfortunately, I ran over and killed an ice addict at the end of that year. Yep.
Oh,
So
really?
that was like,
how does that happen how does that happen twice to one person?
How does that happen twice to one person?
What is
like,
that about?
Didn't I learn enough the first time round? But what it was that because I had suppressed everything.
You hadn't dealt with it. You hadn't done the healing.
I hadn't dealt with it. I hadn't.
Babes.
Yeah. So I literally had to go on another quest and said to my guides, what the hell?
I would have said it really worse than that.
Why am I not being supported here? You know, what is this about? Seriously.
What's the lesson in this? What have you not seen that you need to actually heal from for that to actually happen twice? And of course, you got the healing around the incident that happened 33 years before, but did it have to be that fucking dramatic again? That is just, wow.
So the second time left me beyond repair. I actually didn't think I was going to come back from it. And I had adult children in my house, you know, who just, I literally couldn't get out of bed. My daughter was running my centre for me, and she'd have to drag me out of bed in the morning. So I managed to stay running running my centre for another 4 weeks, and then I just had the biggest meltdown because I thought I could pick myself up like I did the first time and keep going. I hit the ground running. But I couldn't. The second time round, I couldn't. I was defeated, and I made the executive decision to close my centre because I couldn't keep all the balls in the air. I really needed help. And I acknowledged that I needed help this time. And of course,
it's the hardest thing to do. Mind you could this time, couldn't you? Because last time you would just like go cover it up. So literally my son, you know, drove me to, because I just sort of couldn't drive. I was paralyzed. And, you know, he drove me to the doctors to get a referral to, you know, psych and you know, look, as much as I love psychologists, talking through, I think I just spent the first 3 sessions just crying. I just sat there because I couldn't actually verbalize anything. I just melted. I just was a melted mess. And I thought, okay, what do I need? And I had to really decide what I needed for me. And the first thing was I had to close the centre. So and it was going really well, wasn't it?
And I'd only been open a year, and the momentum was gaining. So I had to close that. But what I didn't count on was all the repercussions of that. People asking me, why have you closed? I bought vouchers. I need my money back. And having to deal with the logistics of all that was a reminder every day about what had happened. And I thought, I really just need to get out of Australia. So I jumped on a plane and I went to America. And I thought, I just need to go to the Omega Spiritual Center, 3 hours north of New York. Have you heard of it?
No.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just the most beautiful retreat. Omega, yeah. It's in a forest on a lake. It's just so beautiful.
Beautiful.
And I thought, I just need to go and do something that completely removes me from my stories and no one knows who I am, and to do some healing work on myself. And I trained as a past life regression therapist because I already had the hypnosis.
Yeah.
Past life regression was something that I had always dabbled in myself and was really fascinating. So I had the opportunity to train with Dr. Brian Weiss, who has written the 20 books or something like that. He's the master.
Yeah,
he's the man.
Absolutely. Guru.
Yeah, and he's a psychologist, and I got to have a session with him and talk with him and, try and make sense of what had happened. And
was it a past life thing that you hadn't dealt with? Was it something that was coming up in many past lives?
Partially, yeah. Well, for 7 days, I was under hypnosis on and off for 2 to 3 sessions a day. So you can imagine
that's heavy. That's a lot of rocking out there. There's a lot of beta state.
Yeah. And so it was really profound but amazing. It just blew my mind. And I got to a few places where I went, okay, yeah, I'm getting here now. I know what's going on here. And I met an amazing group of women that held the space for me while I was there.
So important community when you're going through something like that. Knowing you've got that's what you didn't have the first time because of your family and you had to leave, and game changer. Yeah. I isolated myself last time. This time I said, no, I've got to reach out to as many people as I can for help. And on the 5th day of this experience, now you live in at this centre in these beautiful accommodations that are set all on this, hill in the forest. It's just amazing. And you've got literally back onto a forest. And on the 5th day, I decided, well, we had the afternoon off and I just felt like something needed to explode out of me. I think it was the suppressed rage and anger that I had just here. It was like boiling, wanted to come out.
But I hadn't given myself permission to do it. So this is what I call my breakdown to breakthrough. And I went into the forest.
So what you went to the forest?
Pardon? Yeah, look out. I was going to chop trees with my bare hands.
My voice.
I raged like no tomorrow.
Do you imagine how much healing you did in that space? Holy shit.
Yeah. I cried, I screamed, I raged, I hit trees. And I ended up on the floor of the forest. I don't know how long I was in there, because I do know that when I came out it was dark, and I'd wandered in there somewhere in the afternoon. I don't even know what time it was, and I came out when it was dark. But what I found after I had this profound rage and anger episode and screaming, and there was no one around, no one. It was like well, they probably would have ran up and what the hell was going on. And that would have been a game changer if someone had found me, because I needed to do this. And I took myself deep into this forest. It was brilliant. And what ended up happening was so profound. So you got to remember that for 5 days, I've been cracked wide open. My energy and my soul is like wide open. Yeah. So I've gone into this forest and I have just exploded this energy that needed to come out of me, leaving me just so vulnerable and raw and ripe, and my energy was just off the Richter, you know, I could feel, I was just like, wow, I don't know what's just happened, but I just felt like tons of weight had fallen off me.
Lifetime of emotions leaving your body.
The
Blame, shame, guilt, the whole fucking lot.
Yeah. And
wow.
as I lay there on the forest floor quietly.
Well, Mother Gaia was holding you.
Well, all these animals started coming out of the forest. It was like something out of a movie. And there was a baby deer that appeared, and I looked over.
Alice in Wonderland.
It was profound. These little orange lizards came out. These birds came from nowhere. Like, they just all started coming around me because I was just laying there so quietly.
Oh my
God. It was just the most profound moment. And I just went, I've arrived. I've finally arrived. I've got to a place where I can now live again.
I can breathe.
I was like, and the other profound thing that happened in this place is every night of the week you could go to these free presentations from the other presenters that were there. And so I got to sit in front of the New York State Native American Indian chief, the last remaining of his, well,
goosebumps.
He's in the lineage, the line and lineage of being the head chief of the state. And he played his drum and sang, and I just sat absolutely bawling.
Was that after your breakthrough or before?
No, so all through the week I'd had exposure to all these spiritual leaders as well, and each time they sort of, you know, added a bit more to my healing.
It's all planned.
I was sort of, and I was like a sponge. I was like,
you would have been with that drumming. That would have been shamanic healing as well.
Oh yeah, all I could do was sit there and bawl my eyes out. I loved it. Yeah, I was like,
now.
I know. I was just like, I was cracked wide open, literally. I think I just cried for 7 days straight, on and off. Like,
well, you could have had that much trauma trapped in your body to have. I mean,
and I swam in the lake every day to try and ground myself. It was suggested that we did that, and we got into the sun, you know, in our breaks. And you have to try. You've got to stay grounded when you do that really full-on work. And it was, but it needed to happen. And when I came back to Australia, I was back to me, and my kids were so relieved when I came back home, and they were like,
"How long are you there for?"
I was away for 4 weeks. I went to Miami and stayed with my girlfriend, and I stayed in New York.
And how long were you at the camp for?
Central Park. Pardon?
How long were you at the camp for?
7 days.
7 days. So it was
7 days, yeah.
Ooh, that's a lot. Yeah. 7 days.
But I knew I needed that. So I came back a completely different person. And I had probably, in all honesty, I'd got myself to about a 60% recovery in that time. That 40% that I had was still, you know, the images of what had happened and the feeling trapped within my body of what happened. Because that's the tough stuff to get rid of, you know, the imaging and the feeling. Emotionally, I could start to talk about it and process it without breaking down fully. But I still had a lot of beliefs around it that I hadn't, and statements that I was telling myself. So fast forward on, I got fed up with people contacting me saying, "Why did you close your centre?" You know, because I had a huge following here in Perth, and I thought, I just don't want to be telling the story. I don't need to feed it. And that's what I think with trauma, that, you know, there's a point at which you don't want to talk about it anymore because it just feeds it. I mean, now I share it like in podcasts and
share it to help people, workshops
and retreats with women, because it'd be a shame not to, people that could heal or get the benefit of knowing there is a way to heal from trauma
and
severe
seeing the
trauma.
other side of it, you know, because when you're
Yeah.
in it, you can't see.
Yeah.
You can't see out of it. You can't see a way around the corner, through the corner, up, down. You're just like, you're in it and you're locked in it. And it's petrifying. It's emotional. It's hard. It's really, really hard. So to see how you are on the other side of it is the biggest thing you can share with somebody.
Yes, that's right. So now I use it for good. I use it as a teaching tool to say, look, I've been there. I've been rock bottom where I've wanted to take myself off the planet, but I didn't because I knew there was a higher purpose and a reason for this.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm strong enough to be able to deal with it. So that's why it was thrown at me. You know, unfortunate as it is, I had a contract and I, you know, lived up to that contract.
Do you wonder when you look at the contract and sign it what the fuck you were thinking about?
I know, right?
Hang on. Like, did I really sign this? I want a copy ASAP to me because I'm just not fucking sure this is what I signed up for. Oh,
I know, right?
Human experience? Yeah. No, I know.
Exactly right. I'm like, why do I have to have those parents? Why couldn't someone else have those
Why
parents?
am I breaking the ancestral stuff? Let somebody else do it. Oh, it's hilarious.
I know, right? Jeez. Well, hopefully the next lifetime's going to be, you know, a nice calm one.
We've done our dues.
I just want a nice calm one. I don't want all this
my life body and I'll be happy.
Oh, geez.
Oh.
So, yes, it's been quite a journey.
It has.
But
been through a lot.
When I got back to Australia, I then helped people with past life regression, and I love that work. It's like my heart work. Because I love putting people under hypnosis and then for them to discover their past lives and what, you know, there's a real learning in when they go to the light and they, you know, see a Bodha Vista or a spiritual being and they get the message they needed about that lifetime, the thing they needed to learn that they didn't get. It's like getting the memo. And you go, yes, what's the memo? Why didn't I get that memo before about that? So I did that for a while. I should say not for a while. I still do that work, but then I still found that 40% that I needed to heal needed to go. And so I ended up back in Alice Springs. I went and took myself back there to live there for a year. I felt like I needed to go to the desert and just to be still. And it's where I grew up. I had my 50th birthday there.
Wow.
I climbed Ayers Rock again for the 8th time. And that was on my bucket list to do it one more time because that's such a spiritual place. And look, the Indigenous people really did not mind people climbing it, you know, contrary to popular belief, because they know how spiritual it is up the top there. And I had this profound moment up there of clarity. And
it's one of the grids.
I needed
one of the things.
It's that and the Katajunta, the Olgas. Uluru and Katajunta. They're powerful, energy-packed places.
Why they've taken them away from us, love.
Pardon me?
Why they've taken them away from us. It's not the Aboriginals.
Yeah. So I had a real awakening there and it helped me. And while I was there, I had really good clarity on what I needed to do to heal the last 40% of my trauma. And I knew there was a modality out there, and my guides were saying, it's there. It starts with a C and you're going to find it. You're close. And I kept searching. I'm like, tell me the name, but I couldn't really hear the name. Like you said, when you did my bio at the beginning, you're like, what? Creatrix? And I couldn't.
Because it was a little thing. I thought,
yeah, so I ended up flying back to visit my kids in the Christmas of that year. And I opened my laptop, this very laptop actually, and up kept popping because I was Googling, because I thought I'd do a postgrad in counselling or psych, or I wanted to do more study so I could help people.
Yeah.
Because I thought, I've come this far. I've got to do something that's going to help, you know, people with this
even
sort
more.
of, even more, than just hypnosis, because there needs to be something that's more permanent. Anyway, creatrix kept popping up on my screen, so I ended up ringing them and saying, okay, look, I don't know much about it, but, you know, when's your next course, and they said, well, actually, we have a course coming up in like 3 weeks. And I was like,
we do.
One more place left. And I'm like, oh my goodness. And this was pre-COVID. So I did the interview process. I had like 3 interviews to see if I was the right fit to be a transformologist. And I was the right fit. Wow. And so the next thing, I flew back to Alice, and the next thing I was on a plane to the Gold Coast, and I trained. So while I was there, I had my second breakdown to break through, because what I didn't realize was that, you know, so how creatrix works is you peel away the onion, the layers of the onion. So all the beliefs, the statements you tell yourself, and the emotions that you hold in your body trap that don't serve you, like betrayal, rage, anger, pissed off, I'm not worthy, I'm scared for people to see who I really am, you know, the imposter syndrome. I'm worried about what women will think of me or what people will think of me, you know, all of those things. I had the whole lot. So I started peeling away the onion layers, and of course on day 3 it left me with the core of the onion, which can be really suppressed.
Fucking sting.
And I had a feeling it was coming, but I just didn't know when, because I sort of went there in a bit of denial. I'm like, oh, I'm okay. You know, I've done this work on myself. I'm okay. I've done so much work on myself. I don't really need this. But I'm
That's
here.
a good old ego, isn't it?
Bastard. So there I was on day 3, and Maz Shrimmer, the creator of Creatrix, the designer, brilliant woman, was talking at lunchtime about killing and how women, when they're pushed, you know, with being raped and living with narcissists and being abused physically, mentally, emotionally, how they can snap and, you know, they can kill. And it pushed a button within me, because I thought, do you really know what you're talking about? Because here I am having done that, and you don't know what you're saying, because this is just, it's not easy to live with what you do, you know. And all of a sudden I just sat there shaking. Literally, it came out in my body physically. Now, I am so blessed that this happened. I hug Maz every time I see her and hold on to her, because she got me to where I needed to be. And because, again, I was cracked wide open, I was vulnerable, and I was there to heal as much as I was to train. And I went
for a reason. She told that story for a reason. And if you had not been a little bit in your ego with, you know, like that, oh no, I've done all the work, I'm really good, you probably wouldn't have gone there, because there would have been that fear part of you that would have been like, oh, maybe not, maybe not.
Yes.
So just perfect.
Right place, right time.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening is I started shaking. I was bawling silently. I couldn't. And then suddenly I sort of let out this, like that. And the trainer sort of saw me and said, right, Gabby, get in that room back there.
We're going for gold. It's time.
And I'm shaking, and rage was just coming up from.
Oh, the anger was coming out. Now the sadness, now it was time for the anger. Oh,
yeah. And so they took me into a room. They took me into a room. They said, come on, what's happening? And one of them was writing everything down, all my statements, my beliefs, noting down my anger, my rage. And it was brilliant. Such a brilliant.
You were being held as well. So it just, you bitch, you said this.
Oh, I was so grateful.
I love you.
I love you, because it was where I needed to go. Absolutely. I needed to go there, and I did. And they took me, once I calmed down, so they just kept me talking, kept me spewing out the story of what I
Because
believed
the minute
about
you
my
stop, you get stuck in
situation.
your head. So you need to keep
Yeah.
flowing. Yep.
So they wrote down every statement I believed about being a killer, how I should have been punished and I haven't.
All these things people had said to you. That's the thing. It's what people say to you is what you hold inside you, because they're the things that you hold on to in those times of emotion. Like, oh my God, they're right. And it's that triggers that keep happening. And it's the stories just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And even if you're not sitting in them, they're in your subconscious. So they're programming you to do a lot of things that you're doing without even freaking realizing. It's incredible.
That's right. So, yeah. So I went into a room for an hour and a half, and the beautiful practitioners, educators, teachers, they literally creatrixed everything that I spewed out.
So good.
And I remember walking, it was so powerful. And I ended up walking out there. Now, what you need to know about creatrix is that it's whatever you work on in that session is gone forever. On a scale of 0 to 10, you measure, and I couldn't even find the things that I had said.
They don't come into your mind, do they? I did exposure to sexual healing, and it was the same thing. It's when you're in a room and it's you leaving it, and I have no emotional charge to anything. And sometimes I'm like, what was that? I don't know. And the stories and the beliefs, they just completely go. There's no attachment to them. It's like they cut that cord and see you later. It's incredible, isn't it?
And that's how it works. And literally I walked out of there. I stood up and I hugged the beautiful Helen Prince and thanked her and just was crying tears of joy. And I said, I'm 100%. I know I am. I've just cleared the last of what I needed. Yeah. And I think the last sort of 4 days or whatever the course, I was in a daze because I just was so.
You would have been too.
I was.
But you would have been going through the integration period of it all. So your body and your mind and everything, your neurological pathways, and it would have just been like finding their new way of being.
Absolutely. And I was reset, completely reset. And even now, if I visualize the experiences, which of course will never leave me, I don't have any reaction now. I'm completely neutral.
You make peace with it.
Yeah, it's gone. Well, it's actually just gone. The connection to it has gone. So, yeah, it's such a powerful modality. And now I help women have breakthroughs with their experiences, whatever they've got going on. And because a lot of women are emotionally wounded. They come
women are emotional full stop.
Yeah, women, yes, it's the way our mind is.
Onto a lot.
Yeah, our mind is wired to be emotional because we have to look after our offspring.
Yeah.
We're heart-centered. But unfortunately, sometimes we let this get in the way. And that's where that saboteuring mind and those thoughts come in, and we tell ourselves these stories and we believe them.
Totally.
And creatrix literally eliminates all of that. It stops all that head chatter. That's the thing that I found most profound. I suddenly had space in my mind to think. I didn't have any more head chatter. It had completely gone. So it's like defragging the computer. You compress the file. So you get rid of the files you don't need. You compress the files down, and that leaves you with all this space in which to create.
Yeah.
And that constant mind chatter that you have just disappears. And that's gold in itself to have so I can sit now and look out the window, and I actually, have such good clarity of mind. And that is fantastic for someone like me who's always been very busy in my head. As my coping mechanism to suddenly have it all silenced.
Monkey mind, see you later.
Yeah, it's gone.
God, that's unbelievable. I love it.
It's a very profound modality, and I'm so blessed that I get to work with women now, because I only work with women. Creatrix is only for women because of the way our brain is. Yeah, our limbic system, our connections are wired.
And
So,
how long have you been doing that for now? When did this course?
3.5 years now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I work with women via Zoom or in person, whichever. A lot of women in Perth like to come and see me in my nice, comfortable setting here. Yeah, so it can be done anywhere, anytime, and that's what I love about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really does create amazing breakthroughs. And women, as I said, there's 50 common emotions that women hold. And when I hand the women the list and say, right, what's going on for you? A lot of them have 15 or more circled. And I'm like, okay, yep, let's go through. Yeah.
And I think
the great thing is
courage to actually take that step, and you have the courage to actually do the work that needs to be done. It can be messy, it can be confronting, and it's not easy. Like some things you see, it's like, oh yeah, you just do this healing, you'll be all good. It's a process, and you've got to allow, like you did, your body to go through the process. Okay, so we're going to do this now, and then when the body's ready, it shows you the next thing you can do, and then the creator, it takes you on a whole journey, because there's so much more to unlock, and we've all still got so much more healing to do. It's not like we do these couple of things and we're all good. And it's all part of our evolution. But the minute that we don't and we fight it, look what happened to you. And it just shows pure and simple that when you've got to feel to heal, and you've got to allow the flow of it, because if you don't, then you keep getting shown the things that you need to heal until you heal it, until you do the fucking
correct work. Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm the best example of that, and I actually
100%.
Yes.
Out of any story I've heard, you are definitely the most profound story to show that if you don't do the work, it keeps coming. Usually when you say, your patterns and your things and your programs, and they keep showing up, and you used to have the same man. No, it really does show it. This shows that if you had healed, then possibly not, could have been a different outcome. Who knows? But it was brought to you, and you needed to go through that process. Otherwise, you'd be still sitting in the other side of it, and it's not healthy. It's not healthy. We're not supposed to be unhealthy like that.
No, and now, one of the surprises with Creatrix is the ability to manifest. When you drop all your sabotaging blocks, beliefs, issues, experiences, and you are forward focused into the future, it's amazing what you can manifest. I've manifested clients, money, my house, my partner, at
life
rapid
flows.
speed.
Beautiful comes in.
Life flows. Yes. And I only have to put out. That's it. So I'm in alignment now, in true alignment. And this is what my life's purpose is now, that I know, and I've got full confirmation of that, is to help women reset and get back in alignment so they can find their true purpose as well.
Beautiful.
Because we're here for that. We're not here just to go through life, we're here to. Pardon?
We're not supposed to be in pain. We're not supposed to.
That's right. We're supposed to be living our full, abundant, beautiful life and letting our light shine, and unashamedly letting our light shine, bright as it can be, and saying, look, if you're not okay with that, okay, that's fine. You're not okay with that. See you. Bye. You can just bye.
Yeah.
This is who I am. Yeah. I'm sorry, but I'm showing up now because I've got a job to do and I've got life to live, and I'm going to live full out because I haven't, and I'm learning how to do that. Yeah. So that's
I celebrate you, Gabrielle. I really, really do. I think.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. It's very, very profound. It really is. And to go from where you were, even right from when you were a child, which you didn't really speak much about, the traumatic stuff that you had there, right through into where you are now. It's you look back and go, wow, what a ride. And I love every bit of it, all the messiness of it, really celebrate you, beautiful, and the work you do. So if you could give one bit of advice to the people listening, what would that be?
Well, actually, I wrote in my notes, you said, what would you tell your you know.
Oh, your future self. Yeah.
What was it? It was, if you were your younger self, what's one thing you would tell your future self?
Yeah, I love that question. What would it be?
Go and get creatrix.
No, you got to do all the other shit.
No, just go and have creatrix. Get rid of all the epigenetic bullshit that you're boarding. Go and clean up your ancestors' mess, your epigenetic ancestral mess. Just cut to the chase. Drop all your bullshit and baggage and all your shit you took on from your parents.
Yeah.
No. I would say you don't need to retain and hold the beliefs and emotions and statements that people have made you believe. You know, like, you have a choice in that. We don't come in understanding that we have a choice, but we do. Even though we sign a contract, we still have a choice. That there's that. And then just let the light shine out of you and don't be afraid. Blind the world with your brilliance and let others heal from what you have to teach. So this is your gift to the world now, and live life fully and go and get creatrix. So that was what I wrote. Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, look, I wish I had creatrix wasn't around when I was 17, but that would have changed the course of my life right then and there. But it is what it is. And, you know, without the story, and I've written it in a book, as I said to you before we started, and I wrote the book when I was in the thick of it. So and I'm glad I did. But when I read it now, it feels like somebody else's story. It actually doesn't feel like it's me. And I actually am blown away with some of the chapters I've written. So that's book number 4 for me. Yeah. So when that comes. Pardon me?
You're like, holy
what's
shit,
that?
Is that me? Wow, how many identities ago was that? Yeah.
Well, I wrote it over the course of a few years after the second event. So it's pretty loaded, but it's real. It shows the vulnerability and the place that people with severe trauma go to.
Yeah.
But then it shows the journey and where I am now, which is the brilliance of it. So
hey, well,
yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed hearing your story. Thank you for just sharing all of the openness around it, and you know, where you are now. I really appreciate it. And massive thank you. And I cannot wait to see where everything else evolves and where you go to from here. I'm sure it's going to be even more expansive and beautiful and divine, and helping lots of women and along the way. So yeah, thank you so much for being a part of my journey and being here on the show with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
And I hope I haven't triggered anyone with my experiences, but really it's only for the good of all that I share these.
If you have triggered someone, then you've helped them. And that's what I say at the beginning of this, that there will be, when I do my intro, there's lots of triggers that can actually happen, because this is, we get real and raw, and this is what we need to show people where you can come from. So thank you for sharing everything with us. And
you're more than welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Love your way. That's my sign out. Love your way.
Sign out, love your way. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Make sure to check out all the show notes of today's episode on my website by clicking on the link in the description. Also, make sure to join my newsletter to receive a free guided meditation to help you feel grounded throughout your day. Finally, make sure to subscribe to my channel and help us grow the community by sharing it with your friends. I am your host, Lisa Nadler, and this is the Art of Quantum Healing.